Hello coders, good afternoon, good evening. It is episode 109 of the How to Code Well podcast. We are live, and as always, if you've got any comments, questions or queries, then do let me know in the chat and I'll answer them as we go. Today I want to talk about my new rule, which is a 15-minute bug fixing rule. Now, there is a lot of pros and there is a lot of cons to this, so I've kind of broken this up into sort of a list of those kind of things. It works well for specific use cases. We'll get into the weeds in just a second. Before we do, though, let's get into some, I guess you would call it housekeeping. So number one, on the between the 18th, Sunday the 18th and Sunday the 25th, I am taking a social media freeze. This includes YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Rumble, Twitter, basically anything I use. I am not going to be on between those dates, and I try and do this once a year. It's kind of like a detox of social media due to all sorts of things that's happened in the last year. We shall not name names, COVID. I have suffered a little bit from, let's say, doom scrolling, so I like to have at least a week where I can just sort of detox from social media. And I think it gets myself grounded again, which is nice. And you realize what is important in life. But that's getting really deep, so let's come out of that hole. And the second one is that we have the Python Versus course on Rumble. So, as I mentioned in the previous podcast episode, I am now on Rumble and also on Odyssey, as well as here on YouTube and, of course, Twitch. And the latest course that I've put on Rumble is the Python Versus course. This is 4 tutorials, and they're very small. They're a couple of minutes long. And essentially what happens on these tutorials is I compare Python, the programming language, to other programming languages. And I target specific things like, the Python variables compared to Ruby variables, or if statements, or functions, and all of that stuff. So you can watch these really quickly and get a sort of an overview of how one programming language differs from another programming language. So the languages that I'm comparing Python to are things like Ruby, C, JavaScript, PHP, and more. Okay, so let's get into the main event, and this is the 15-minute bug rule. Before I do, I'm going to take a slurp of my tea. We don't have beer tonight. I'm on a bit of a health kick, so I'm on the old mint tea, so bear with. Okay, so the 15-minute bug rule. What on earth is this all about, eh? What on earth am I talking about? So, the 15-minute bug rule is something that I've come up with, and it's kind of like I've only come up with it in the last, say, couple of weeks, so this may change, but it's working so far. And it's specifically working on live streaming, and I think it's working well because it's just me here. I don't think this is going to work well in a team of people. And let's just talk about what it is, and then I'll explain the pros and the cons there. Okay, so essentially, it is, if you can fix the bug within 15 minutes, fix the bug. Don't chalk it up. Because, you've seen me write tickets in GitHub before, and also in Jira, if you've watched the old Twitch streams. And sometimes it would take a huge portion of my time on stream writing tickets. And they might have been for the smallest thing, which is pointless for me because it's only me developing. I'm specifically focusing on the howtocodewell.net site here. So if I can fix the bug quicker than I can write the ticket, then it makes sense for me to fix the bug, right? That just makes sense. However, there is a bit of a downfall here. Well, we'll get onto the cons in a second. Let's just go through some of the pros, right? Because the pros are great. So the first one is it's fantastic for UI testing and regression testing. This is what we're doing at the moment on the live streams. We've built the functions and the features of howtocodewell.net, and we are looking at different screen sizes, different devices, and we're basically poking holes in the interface, in the UI, in the user experience. And this 15-minute rule works because a lot of the changes I'm making are visual changes. They're not actually diving into areas of the PHP. However, I'm pretty sure the 15-minute rule can also work with the backend. So it's great for making very minor adjustments. And essentially the rule is that if I create an arbitrary timer. There isn't a timer on the live stream, but I look at the clock and say, okay, right, let's put down 15 minutes on the clock. I say what the current time is, and then I say if I don't fix this bug within 15 minutes from now, which is time blah, 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 then we'll create a ticket for it and we'll move on. And that's pretty much it, to be fair. It's great because, there's 15 minutes in an hour, so you can easily break down 4 bugs, right, in an hour, which is nice. But there is one rule that I would like to keep, and that is that the investigation time is not included in the fixing time. So it could take 20 minutes to investigate, and then I give myself 15 minutes to fix it. Whoops. And that means that I've at least given myself a period of time to try something out, right? Because usually the first thing that you try and do doesn't always work. Well, at least in my case. So at least you've given yourself that opportunity to try something out. And also, because you've given yourself the opportunity to do some investigation that is not tied to the time that you're allocating for fixing this thing, by the time you come around to actually writing the ticket, you've kind of already investigated it, you've written the code, you can actually give some juicy information in that ticket, so when you go and pick it up again, and we'll talk about when that happens in a second, you're more able to context switch back into that mode and see, and you can see, I've tried this and that doesn't work, so perhaps I'll try something else. The best thing for this is that it keeps me focused. So the thing is, when I'm let's talk about live streaming first, and then I'll talk about just general side projects. So live streaming for me it's multitasking. It is the biggest multitasking thing I do. When I'm writing code live, I am thinking about the code. I'm thinking about the future things that I'm going to do after I've fixed the thing that I'm working on or the feature I'm building. Okay, so my brain is thinking ahead whilst I'm thinking about the code that I'm writing, whilst I'm looking at the chat and answering questions from the chat, whilst I'm trying to navigate this crazy mixing desk full of knobs and whistles and stuff like that, whilst I'm also engaged with the outside world, so the world outside of streaming. So, I have a puppy, an English Springer Spaniel, who doesn't really get on with, who doesn't like people coming close to the house, so deliveries and all of that thing. So there are a couple of distractions, shall we say, that I have to, as a live coder, as a live streamer, I have to deal with, right? Everybody has to deal with when they're a live streamer. They have to deal with these things, and then you've got the whole technical thing, actually making sure the stream is working, there's a lot of basically what I'm saying. There's a lot of stuff to do. I'm not complaining. I love live streaming. I love live coding. It's great, but there's just a lot of stuff to do, as well as just memorize the syntax. So with this 15-minute rule, it allows me to keep very focused. Something that you may have discovered, if you've watched any of my previous live streams, is I like to go down rabbit holes. When I start coding, I will come up with like a single line idea, and then 2 hours later, I'm several rabbit holes deep, and I've changed the context of what I was originally looking at, and then by the end of the stream, perhaps I haven't actually achieved anything, but I've learned quite a lot. Now, those streams are fantastic, and I do really, benefit from those, because I gain a lot of learning from them. However, when it comes to building, and this is now moving into the side project, when it comes to building howtocodewell.net, I really need to get this pushed live, and therefore I need to keep focused. So having all of these distractions that I've just mentioned, multitasking, but giving myself a time limit, it helps me to stay focused on what it is that I'm actually trying to achieve here, which is great. So yeah, it's great for live streaming, and it's great for personal projects. Let's start talking about the negatives, though, because this isn't for all. I wouldn't use this in a team. So if let's say you're working in a team of people, maybe one of those team members goes off ill. And because you haven't recorded down a bug, and just someone has picked that up, just found a bug and started fixing it, and then they're ill the next day, then because you've got no record of that, it gets quite tricky to know where that thing is. I have had meetings with people where the fix was 10 minutes. 10 minutes to write the fix, but there was a meeting with several members of staff, several people from different departments to discuss this fix. If that was just me, there wouldn't be anybody to talk to. It would just literally be me. That is the difference. That is the big difference. Also, there is this, as I mentioned, this record, there is a historical set of decisions that is lost when you just fix the bug instead of write down the ticket number. So there's a lot of cons when it comes to working in wider teams. I think this is more specific to side projects, where you want to be spending as much your time as efficiently as possible. So less time actually writing about the thing that you found, and more time fixing the thing that you found. Because it's only you're the only one who's actually going to care about this thing. The thing that I have to deal with is that because my time on How to Code Well is so small, I do need to keep a record of certain challenges, certain tickets, certain bugs, certain features. But I see this as kind of like a pendulum, so it can go one way or another way, and it can go quite extreme. I can spend a whole stream just writing out tickets. I can spend a whole stream fixing bugs. This is kind of the middle ground. So this is basically how it works. So you investigate the issue, right? And this could take 5 minutes, it could take 20 minutes. And then once you've come up with an idea, what I use is the stream. I rubber duck the solution. I talk about the solution on stream. Once I have come up with a solution that I think could possibly work, I will then say, okay, let's put 15 minutes on the clock and let's fix this thing. So I haven't documented this bug at all, but it's still in my brain. Okay, I've just spent the past 10, 15, 20 minutes investigating this thing. I know the possible fix. So let's go ahead and try and fix it, but only give ourselves 15 minutes to do it in. Okay, let's say I fixed that bug. Hooray! There's no need to write a ticket. Done. That's done, and I can move on to the next issue, and it's basically that rinse and repeat cycle. So what happens if I can't fix that issue within that 15 minutes? Well, in that case, I will need to write a ticket. And because I've just spent, say, 10, 15, 20 minutes investigating and then 15 minutes attempting to fix that issue, and I haven't built the solution yet, I have managed to gain a lot of experience trying to fix that issue, and therefore I can actually pad out the ticket more effectively, right? Because I can actually say what didn't work, as well as my investigation notes. And because I may have spent 5 minutes investigating, 20 minutes investigating, and then 15 minutes it's still fresh. It's still fresh. So I haven't lost anything by not writing the ticket before trying to fix the bug. The idea is just trying to be as time efficient as possible. That's it. That's essentially it. And then, just going through my notes here, if it takes you the same time to write the ticket, then there's no point in writing the ticket, right? You might as well fix it for a side project. It also helps to keep the backlog down, because the worst thing is to go into a backlog and just see a load of low-hanging fruit, and try and, you don't want to mark down every single bug, every single little small detail in a backlog, in my opinion, especially if those small little details can be fixed really quickly. So it helps to keep the backlog nice and tight, and it helps to keep the backlog very specific. Again, a well-focused backlog. There's only things in the backlog that cannot be fixed within 15 minutes. Okay, so this also helps me to break down bugs in smaller chunks, because I know now that if I cannot fix it within 15 minutes, then I have to move on. So it forces me to go, well, actually, this bug is going to take 45 minutes. Let's see if we can break this down into 3 other smaller little bugs. Let's see if we can just carve a little small chunk of this bug out. Maybe we can tackle it not as a whole, but as a smaller piece. And that also helps to investigate further the other areas of the bugs that you're trying to or the other areas of that overall fix that you're trying to make, which again is making me more efficient as a programmer, right? If I can break the bug down into 3 15-minute chunks, right, and I can do the first one in 5 minutes and the second one in 10 minutes, I feel like I'm achieving something. I'm on a roll here. And then I do the last one in 15 minutes. Maybe I didn't know how to solve if we were to put it down into thirds, right? So I know how to solve the first third of this overall bug, right? I know how to do that because I've done the investigation. The second third, I'm not too sure. But I'm hoping that after I've fixed the first third of this bug, then I'll have more of an idea. The last third of this bug, I have no idea from the get-go. I've got no idea how to solve this part of this overarching bug. But I've broken it down into 3 things. And then as I go, I start piecing things together. And then by the time I get to the last part of this bigger issue, I can go, yes, I just saw that code, and therefore I kind of know what to do, so I'm going to try this out. So it's a great way of breaking down bigger problems into smaller things. But again, the con there is that because I'm not recording anything, if later down the line in the future, I find that I need to have some sort of record keeping or some sort of, if I come up against a feature and I'm like, why on earth did I do that? Then because I've got nothing to actually go back and read, then that might be problematic. So what happens with all of these issues? So what I'm trying to do is also have a 1-hour rule in the live streams. So this is where the first hour of a live stream where I'm actually coding, I am trying to fix as many bugs as possible. Bugs being bugs that are recorded in the backlog. So for the first hour, I am trying to fix as many things as possible. It doesn't have to be an hour. It could be 45 minutes or whatever. It doesn't matter. All of these issues do not have a time frame. It is just an hour of just bug fixing. It could only be 1 bug. It could only be no bugs. But If I can't fix anything in that hour, I would at least hope that I have recorded something in the tickets that are in the backlog to say the things that I've tried out. And then after that hour, we get straight back into this 15-minute rule. And this is a rinse and repeat cycle. This is really good, I have found, for regression testing. It's where you're looking at something that is kind of already there, but you're poking holes in it. Let's see if we can fix it nice and quick. If we can't, bung it in the backlog, forget about it for today, move on. And then the next live stream, you've got the first hour, knock yourself out, try and fix these issues. If you can't, don't worry about it, but at least document the journey in those tickets and discuss what you've tried and what you haven't tried. This keeps, like I said, the backlog nice and lean, nice and clean, and it makes me, as a live coder, far more focused on the actual thing that I'm trying to achieve whilst I'm dealing with all these distractions. So that's my 15-minute rule. I would love to hear what people do with their personal projects. If you even record anything, if you even put anything down in a bug tracking software, or even if it's in Trello, I would love to hear how you record and write your tickets. And if you are like me, if you use GitHub issues, or if I've used to use Jira, but I find GitHub issues is much better. Or if you've gone down the full sort of Kanban board type thing, I'm not sure if I want to do that. I'm kind of trying to find the middle ground between the most efficient way of me writing bugs or writing tickets as well as fixing tickets. I don't want to get too bogged down in writing the ticket. However, I do appreciate the need of writing the ticket, especially when I'm doing a long live stream and it's like 3 hours long and I'm getting tired, and I'm always, when I start the next live stream, I'm like, what did I do? I have no idea. I just have gone on autopilot, which isn't good. The 15-minute rule, I would like to think, is keeping me focused, keeping me on point. And because I'm basically dipping in and out of the GitHub issues as well as the code, every 15 minutes, I have I've got a reasonable idea of the situation, right? And I can get into the stream on the following stream with a reasonable idea of where to start. So there we go. I'd love to hear from you guys if you have any kind of thoughts on that. I'm going to have to stress this, though, just in case anybody is listening in terms of like client work and stuff. I've never done this in client work. This is only on the side projects. This is only on personal projects, because there are things, obviously, with the client work that is in place for those kind of decisions. But when I literally have an hour and a half in an evening to do a bit of work on how to code well, that needs to be as efficient as possible. I can't be wasting my time writing out a bug that I could fix within the same time as I write the ticket, So there we go. Thank you ever so much for watching. I know that this has been a short stream, but I want to take an early night tonight because I want to go for a run with Murphy tomorrow. We have just got a new harness for Murphy, and I went out for my first run with him yesterday, and that was really, really good. And I want to do the same run again tomorrow and see if we can beat our time. So I want to take an early night, hence the off the beer tonight. Thank you ever so much for watching. Happy coding, everybody. And hey, I'll see you again in a future live stream. Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.